Hi there, and welcome on the journey to transform culture. I'm Steve, and I'll be your guide. Well, folks, hope you're having a fantastic day and an even better week. Today, folks, we're going to jump fairly straight into a topic: perception is reality. Well, I guess I could put a question mark after that. Is perception reality? Let's talk about it. All right. Well, perception is reality. You know, I've gone to many organizations and helped them improve, but one of the things that I often do when I pull up to an organization of any type, size, and so forth is to start my assessment really from the time that I park my vehicle. What do you notice? And you could do this in your organization or around your organization, for example. When you come in to work in the morning, you do the same thing. Because what happens is oftentimes people become less and less aware or more and more numb to the perception or the reality of the situation as it relates to their organization. You pull up, you park, get out of your vehicle. What are some things that jump out at you? Are there weeds in the sidewalk? Right? Is the grass kept up? If you have shrubs, are they maintained? Is it Are the shrubs growing across the walk areas? Are the areas marked well enough? Right? And obviously, we got to meet certain OSHA standards, right, to be able for curbs and all the rest of it, right? Are those things, up to par? Is the concrete beaten and battered and broken and fallen apart? Do you have massive potholes and and basically is there disarray in your parking lot, right? As you start to approach the front of the organization again, uh, how many entrances do you have? Are they clearly marked? Is it obvious to someone pulling up where the front office is? And if it isn't, do you put signs out that correct any of those assumptions? Right. That way, if you're doing work or remodeling or that sort of thing, and you require different entrances, are those things clearly posted? Because you don't want customers. Now, think about this. You're a customer, you're pulling up, and you want to see if this organization is somebody you want to invest in. I may have a year or two or more of product development or production or other, depending on your type of business, that I want to check this organization out and talk with folks and see what's going on. And customers are going to be evaluating you visually right from the jump, right from the jump. If they're pulling into your parking lot, it even goes so far as the grounds around the area of your building, right? Even to the extent that if there are any adjacent ravines around the property as they're pulling up the road, is there garbage? Are the weeds a mile high and just frenetic and chaotic? Now, these things seem like they might be inconsequential, right? We haven't even talked about walking into the organization yet, but already your customers are making an assessment, a judgment, right? Because what they expect is this: that the outside is going to reflect what the inside is. Now, if I go a little deeper, they're going to judge what they can see, smell, hear, all the rest of it externally, and they're going to be assessing what's on the inside of your team, right? What does their character make up? Is this a team that is thoughtful about the customer? Do they care about, do they take pride and ownership and accountability for for not just the grounds, but for the condition of the work environment, right? Uh, so they're going to be making these assessments right from the jump, folks. And even if they really don't say that they care, people care. I'm just telling you, people do care. So right from the jump, as they're walking up, and then they look up and they notice that the flag, whatever country, right, whatever city, whatever state, whatever you have going on, are the flags well kept? Or are they tattered, frayed, and faded, right? And are they wrapped around the flagpole, for example? Are they well lit? So they're going to notice these things. These are going to be things that leap right off the page, and they haven't even opened their portfolio or their folio yet, right? But these are going to be notes that they're probably going to be asking themselves, hey, I need to look. And that's the other part of this. They're going to look even harder at you, which you want anyway, irrespective of what your grounds look like. Then as they approach, they come into the entryway. Again, is the entryway, or is the glass clean? Are the corners around the entry areas filled with cobwebs and a bunch of signs with scotch tape that hasn't been adequately cleaned off from old things that were put up? And is it just generally filthy, right? And uncared for? Or the mats, is the walkway, right? Is the walkway safe, and is it clean, neat, and serviceable, right? Then as they go to enter into the organization, the same thing. What does the lobby look like? And all of these same things are going to be seen from the inside. Now, are visible desks cluttered and chaotic, right? Because you might know somebody's coming to visit you, but you need to be prepared every day that anyone could come to your organization. Not only that, you want the inside of your people and to include ownership, leadership, everyone, to be a representative, or you want the outside to be representative of what's on the inside, right? So if customer focus and customer centricity is your gravity, it is part of your gravity, well, it better darn well be represented physically, visually, and everything else too, and maintained, right? Your standards have to be at that level. Now, it doesn't matter, and I think one of the shortcuts that kind of slipped past during COVID was this whole notion that, well, we don't do door to door service, or we don't really have a active presence at the front door. Everything is secure, everything's by appointment. Stop it. Look, folks, there are people who want to do business, and if they're going to come up to your door, they're going to come up to your door. We can't get lazy, right? We just can't get lazy. We have to take care of things, and we have to start putting personnel up front. We can't have this nonsense. Now, if you're concerned about solicitation, put a sign about solicitation. That's fine. No harm, no foul. But or sales, if hey, sales will be by phone, in the sense that not sales like for customers who want to use sales, but those selling, right? any vendors, right? Any vendors selling services, that's perfectly adequate, but make sure that the signage is neat, clear, and concise, right? And everything is dress in the front of your lobby area or your access way, right? But you should have someone manning the front desk type of thing. And if you can't, you darn well better have somebody who's whether that rotates, who can get to the door rather quickly, right? And easily. And the reason why is you want to have that responsiveness for your customers. Because look, folks, there might be somebody who you say, hey, we're looking at you between you, I'm looking at 3 different outfits and you're one of them. And hey, I've talked to you, we've Zoom called, we've done all the things. You know what? They just might have somebody cruise up to your building and see how they're received, see what kind of customer service, right? Person-to-person customer service that your organization is actually providing. I know I would, and I think anybody investing any relatively high sum of dollars and cents to invest in your organization to produce something and so forth, that they would, right? Not a difficult thing. Hey, cruise down there, pop in, just say, hey, I'm XYZ. See what kind of reception you get. Because they want to evaluate how you handle customers and what your true uh, relationship and your true um, approach to customer service is. They don't want to hear lip service, and they don't want to take uh, anything for granted, right? Especially if you have a long contract project oriented thing going on. So, perception is reality, right? What people are perceiving about your organization is the reality. Because the fact is, if you're not maintaining these things, even before we get to anything that's production or service related or anywhere behind the front lines of the front desk to talk to any departments and so forth, they're going to basically see the external representing the internal. Okay. So so while you may have it dress right dress and all of that, you may have a decent level of reception up front, right? Make sure that if your reception is security oriented, that they are just as well versed in customer care as anybody you hired straight up only for customer care. Okay, just do that. I mean, just don't cut corners. Again, can't get lazy, right? Um, unless you're making something tip top secret, and you probably wouldn't be on the city street doing having an organization out in the open anyway. If you were doing that, you're probably not making anything that's that ridiculous, right? And if you think you are, you're probably not. And because you have requirements, those requirements, are those requirements for the organization as a whole, right? Or is it product related, right? So make sure that if you're doing these things that, look, folks, there's a gazillion different ways to have security set up to where it doesn't interfere with customer service. So we can't cut corners, and we can't get lazy. I know I throw out the lazy word a couple times, and if you're activated by that word, good. Don't get lazy. It's simple, right? So there's that. Then when you go to the back, let's say they're going back to speak to particular departments, depending on the type of business you have going on. Doesn't matter if it's leadership or whatever they're doing. Again, everything is visual. Everything is going to talk to them. Are your desks so old? Is the carpet frayed? Is it nasty? You haven't put a fresh coat of paint on in over 15 years. Paint's flaking off. You got cobwebs hanging from your lights. Not a good organization, a good or excellent organization are going to pretty well have this handled. But there's a fine line where people start to go where they start thinning out their staff, and all of a sudden, oh, well, we don't do these things anymore. So now the place is looking a little bit like a rundown organization is what it looks like. And the perception is a reality. You may be run down, right? So you're going to have to pick up your game. And this isn't just for show, right? Remember, I said this needs to be a daily basis. Everything needs to be handled on a daily basis. Not this only when we have customers coming, right? Now go to your conference room. What kind of shape is it in? If you're doing meetings, presentations, and so on. What kind of condition is your conference room in? What kind of communications do you have? If you're using any speaker systems, any kind of PA systems, has that been updated in the last 10 or 15 years? Because the last thing you want to do is blow out anybody's eardrums because the speaker is so awful, right? I can tell you, I've been around and I've heard some of these myself. That speaks to customer care. That speaks to, hey, do I care about the people working here? If they have to listen to this nauseating sound all day long coming through, right? So, yes, I'm getting picky, but that's where we're at right now, folks. Perception is reality. Then, how does your team, essentially, how do they come across? Does your team dress for work? Do you have kind of a set, not a uniform, but do you have guidelines for dress and appearance? Is every day business casual, or is every day just Friday casual, I should say, to where somebody coming in to do service looks around, they can't tell the difference between people working in your organization and a dorm room at a college somewhere, right? So, and who knows, maybe the folks in the dorms are dressing better than some organizations, right? And we're not talking about production where the dirtiest things happen. We understand that you have to dress for the role that you have, but if you're operating an organization that has a support staff and so on and so forth, are they clean, neat, and serviceable, right? Are there some guidelines, right, that speak to your professionalism, right? Even if that's your own, your own gear, right? Your own stuff with your business name on it, that sort of thing. Obviously, you're probably going to do that more when you have actual visits, and that's fine. But in the general sense, does your team look professional, right? Do they even know what that is, right? Do they get, the shakes when they think about the idea of dressing professionally, right? So you want to ask these questions because perception is reality. If you're not dressed for the appropriate work that you're doing, then, look, folks, a firefighter wears firefighter gear to go fight fires. Police officer wears, their gear. Everybody has their uniform. Everybody wears their gear. Everybody does their thing. If every day is Friday casual, then perception is reality. I'm going to assume, and most customers are going to assume, oh, people around here are just kind of casual and they don't really care. There isn't really a pride and ownership, right, of the organization and what you do. So perception is reality. Go through your organization. If you're not doing walks around your building at least once a month to make sure that all the, any goofiness is picked up outside and things are clean, neat, externally and internally in your organization. Make sure your conference rooms are cleaned up. If you need to put a fresh coat of paint on, do so. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to break you. And if it is, you got bigger problems than we can imagine. If a few coats of paint are going to cause a disruption or a problem with your organization, it's okay, right? Because also another thing to bring into this, lighting. You folks need to see what they're doing, right? Is it a dank, dark cave? Is it really hot in there? Or is it really cold? Or is it extreme? And is the environment for your workforce poor, such that customers, when they come in there, go, oh my gosh, I can't believe people work here. I'm freezing, or I'm melting, because you don't have adequate climate control. So, and obviously that becomes more difficult in more austere environments where we're doing a lot of hands-on work too, right? But there again, what are we doing to take care of our team in production areas? Are we do they have adequate water? Are there fans? Is there climate control? XYZ, are we doing, do they take adequate breaks? Do they, all the things. Go through your whole organization and make sure it meets a standard that is appropriate for your customer on a daily basis, not just when it feels convenient or when someone is coming, right? And this is where some of the upper echelon leadership can kind of snap out of it too and take a little advice and say, look, if you haven't been to one of your sites in 5 years or more, I would say you're about 3 years behind the curve. If it's taking you a year or two to go to a site, I have to ask, what are we doing? What are we doing? Do we not care about our customer? You have to ask that question because customers would probably think the same thing to know, well, our CEO hasn't been here in 5 years or more. Well, that speaks volumes, right? Especially if the place looks like it's just been attacked. All right, folks, not taking it easy on you today. Remember, perception is reality. We have to step up to the plate to take care of our customers. We can't get slack. We can't be lazy. We have to, take some ownership and some pride in what we're doing and some accountability because the customers expect that in the product or service that they're purchasing from you. So this isn't a poke in the eye. This is a take care of the customer kind of video today. All right. And in doing so, remember, hit that good green domino 3 to 5 times a day. Sometimes that good green domino is taking care of all of these things to uplift, motivate, inspire, and just encourage other folks. And when you do that, you're going to find they're taking care of the customer, they're taking care of the organization, making sure everything is where it's supposed to be, and that everything is representative of the inside of your team. That it's demonstrative of the team cohesion and the accountability and the enthusiasm that they have to take care of customers. So if you're doing that, guess what? Not only are you transforming culture, but your team and you are transforming at the same time. And that's a very important thing. Don't take it for granted or lightly. All right, folks, have a fantastic day. Hit like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.